Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Building a Healthy OpenEdge Codebase. We are very excited to have two guests with us today. We have Tibor Lapikas from the Software Improvement Group, and from our own Progress, we have Roland de Piper. And I am Joelle Andrews, Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Progress. So let's start by quickly introducing today's speakers. Tibor, tell us who you are.
Yes, thank you, Joelle. My name is Tibor Lapikas, and I work as a director in the partner team at Software Improvement Group. I've been there for 10 years, and now I work together with our partners to help deploy our product Secret to clients around the world.
Very nice. Thanks for being here. It's great to have a special guest. And Roland, who are you?
Thank you, Joel. Yeah. So my name is Roland de Piper. I work as a consultant, a senior principal consultant at Progress Professional Services, based in the Rotterdam office. Been with Progress since 1995, so been there for quite some time. And this last year, I've been making the connection with one of the subjects in this meeting, in this presentation, about the QSM offering.
Excellent. Well, actually, let's have you continue talking, Roland. Can you tell us what we're here to discuss today and how this is relevant to the OpenEdge audience?
Yep. So hopefully most of you will already be migrating their application to OpenEdge 12. When the big question is then, why is code quality and a healthy OpenEdge code base, why is that relevant? Well, the better your code quality is, the easier it will be to migrate your application. The less issues you will have with consistency, the less time you will have to spend on maintenance. So the better the code quality is, the easier it is to migrate and to run your application on OpenEdge 12. And we see that especially with customers who are moving from a classic app server to our new and latest PaaS where we just can save resources and just make an easy transition moving forward.
Nice. And Tibor, what exactly brings SIG here today?
Yes, so SIG is an OEM partner to Progress, and Progress retails our product as QSM, quality and security management, where it analyzes the code that is being produced by Progress customers on things like overall quality, overall architecture, and security. And we're also working on some AI features, which we also we'll discuss today in this webinar.
That sounds great. Okay, so you said code quality, so why don't we start there? Tibor, do you want to kick us off?
Sure, let's start with that indeed. So yeah, what is coding quality indeed, and why should you care about this? So our background is in code analysis, and when we started with this company, actually, we found out that if you assess code quality, and what is code quality? Well, we normally talk about code maintainability, which means how easy is it to maintain your source code over the long term? How easy is it to add new features? How easy it is to resolve bugs? Why do you want to do this? Well, normally you maintain your applications over a longer term, and you want to make sure that not just today, but also tomorrow and next year, you can still easily add new features. If you cannot, and of course there are many companies dealing with this kind of issues, is this comes because of technical debt, right? So technical debt is any maintenance that you sort of did not do on your code base, and we identify this, and we also propose things to resolve. And so let's say quality in itself, purely as an aspect, is not something that drives your business, right? Your business is to have IT help your business achieve their goals. And what we say is, if you keep quality at a certain level, then it's easier to implement new features and thus increase the value that IT brings to your business.
Do you have any real life examples of technical debt, something that you see commonly?
Yeah. So there are two types, roughly speaking. But the first thing happens really at the code level when you're writing a function, and you're adding a lot of what we call decision points. For example, an if function can be true, it can be false, which means there's sort of a branch potential, right? Either it's yes or it's true, which means you have to test against this. But sometimes you get an if and then a nested if, right? So within a certain statement, you can also have another branch point, and this increases complexity in the function. And it's something that you generally want to avoid.
So building upon, that's the idea.
Exactly, right? And we always say, how does this happen? And we say line by line. The point is, one single line, well, that's not going to be an issue. Let's just quickly fix this, right? And the next week, oh, there's another small thing, just fix it. But if you sort of keep deferring the cleanup, like keep deferring cleaning up your room, one small thing won't change it. But if you wait long
dish
enough,
becomes
it's gonna
two, becomes three, and then your kitchen's very messy.
Then your kitchen is very messy and it's going to take a very long time to clean up, right?
That makes perfect sense.
Yes, and that's why we say this is also not something that you do in one big push. It's a little maintenance every time you also work on features.
Now, developing these features, so why not just develop the features?
We think you should. But what you'll see is that, and that's sort of the second type of technical debt that we see often, is more architectural complexity. Also, we see this, for example, in Progress Codebases. Like if they're developed over a long time, you keep adding new components that need to talk to each other, but you don't properly isolate them. You fix something in one component, looks good, but then something in another component topples over, right? And this is also the kind of complexity that you want to avoid. And if you don't do this, you can still want to build new features, but what you'll see is that it's going to take longer and longer, require more sources, and in the end, will make you less efficient, which is something you want to avoid.
Interesting. So, Roland, can you talk about the OpenEdge implication here? Because I know a lot of our people on OpenEdge applications have been using them for quite some time and probably are experiencing this kind of technical debt.
Yeah, and I think that's, and based, of course, on Tibor's explanation, I think this even shows a little bit more, even with progress with OpenEdge applications. We have the best technology in the world. Our database is rock solid, and we are always backwards compatible. So even your version 4 code will still run in OpenEdge 12. So that's a huge benefit. But there's also a backside to it, and that's indeed that over time, if you have to maintain an application for so many years, probably those customers, they are still here because they are doing so well in their business. They're very successful. But it also means that you're continuously adding new functionality, changing your code base because of changing business needs. And the longer you have to maintain an application, the bigger the issue can become. And there's always time pressure. It has to be delivered last week. And when does the customer need it? Yeah, right now, we have to implement it as soon as possible. And code quality will suffer from this. So the fact that you have an application that's been out there for so many years, the big advantage is you can still make money from it, and you are still making money from it. But it's also putting a lot of pressure on code quality. And in real life, indeed, we see this really happening at customers. They say, well, we have a certain module in our application, and we have so much technical debt. There's so much work to do just on maintaining the application, fixing issues. We just don't get the time to add new functionality. And that's really putting a big burden on your application development and your complete software engineering process. Because it just stops your continuity.
That makes a lot of sense. And that's like having a beautiful house. It's still functioning, but you should invest in maintaining and making it better. So I completely understand what you're saying.
Keep on painting, yeah.
So what are some of the key aspects you would recommend people to analyze? Maybe that's a Tibor question.
Sure. So let's say you've decided indeed you want to spend a little bit more time on quality. Where do you start? So as I indicated, take a look at the overall quality of the functions that you're building. take a look at the architectural complexity. But what is important, in most cases, you will not start this on a new code base. You will start doing this on an existing code base, which means that maybe if you do an initial scan, it's not scoring that well. But
Explain the concept of scoring for people who aren't
yeah,
familiar.
that's very good. I didn't touch upon that yet. So the way we assess code quality is we measure it, right? We, for example, count the number of functions which are too complex. We count the number of architectural violations. But the question is, what is good or bad, right? How do you position this? The way we approach this is we have developed a star rating, goes from 1 to 5 stars, and it sort of indicates where you are in terms of overall maintainability. And we've done this in such a way, since we measure so many other software systems, that 3 stars is market average, which really helps you to compare where are you compared to the rest of the market, right? It gives you some sort of anchoring to, hey, how are other companies doing it? And from there, we can also derive certain goals for where you would want to be in terms of scoring.
So 3 stars would mean you are solid. You are comparable to your peers. And then
Exactly.
5 stars means you're way out in front.
Exactly. And so our general recommendation is, to aim for something like 4 stars, where you are a bit ahead, so to say. You can develop features at a good pace. Not 5 stars, then we call this gold plating. You're spending too much time also cleaning up every little small bit, which will impact the time that you're actually spent on building features. But 4, like, is a general good balance.
Okay.
But if you do the initial scan of your code base, it could be like, 2.5 stars or something like that. If you then want to go to 4, that's an enormous effort. And we don't think people should do this, or companies should do this, because then you're just spending a lot of money to go to a certain level. What you should do is focus on the new code that you're building, right? If you're adding new code to your system, that code itself should have for example, a 4-star rating or a 3-star rating, that at least overall your code base is getting better and not worse.
Now, explain how the technical debt portion of this plays in, because you're talking about improving your new code. That makes perfect sense. You want to keep your house tidy as you go along. What about things from the past?
Yeah, very good. So for the things from the past, you need to make a selection on what you want to work on. And what you will see if you do the analysis, that you will find some hotspots, right? Some parts in your code which are really much worse than the rest, or for example, architectural components where a lot of things are happening. It's used maybe as a utility class, and every change you make there, any improvement you make, has an outside influence on the rest of your code base. So what you need to do is select the hot spots that you're working on, or that are causing problems. And maybe there are some parts in your code base that see a lot of changes. And when you see a lot of changes there, it also is worth your time to improve the quality and make sure that changes that you make over there will go quite quickly.
So the phrase that I have heard is, don't try to boil the ocean. Don't try to do everything all at once. It sounds like that's what you're saying. Apply effort to certain things at certain times.
Yes, prioritize and set goals, which are, let's say, realistic for your teams, right? Don't do it all at once, but focus on what is necessary and what will improve your actual time to market.
Nice. All right. Roland, was there anything you wanted to add about code quality? Because if not, I think we might want to switch gears.
Well, maybe one specific.
Sure.
I mean, what everybody should try to do is, as Tibor said, and as you also said, that don't try to boil the ocean. You should take it gradually. And what could be a really good help is to reserve some percentage of your time in every sprint. Most of it are sprints. So try to prioritize those issues, and every sprint take some extra time just to fix those kinds of issues. And also approach it in a way that if you're working on a certain part of your code base and well, there are some some issues there. There are some things that we need to improve. Just take that along. Apply the Boy Scout rule, leave the code a little bit better than how you found it, and do that along the way. And then over time, your code will get better and better. I mean, nobody can just close the shop for half a year and say, "Oh, guys, now we're working on our code quality." No, you have to do that next to running your business. You still
Ongoing.
need to make money. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Well, I know we wanted to talk about AI agents, and we should probably start just to make sure everybody's at the same place. What is an AI agent? What is agentic AI?
Sure.
Tibor, do you want to take that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we all have seen, and probably almost everyone listening to the webinar has used, right? An LLM, a large language model. You can ask it something and it will return an answer, right? Well, these LLMs have also been developed for code development, right? Where you can say, hey, I have this piece of code or I have this requirement. Can you write this for me, for example, in APO, right? And it will output something. Now, this is what we would call AI, right? And there are many versions out nowadays, like Windsurf, for example, or Cloud Code, who can do this, who can build code, write code for you. Now, what is the agentic part in this? Is that it started with a sort of chat interface where you would ask a question, you get a response, you can ask a new question, right? But this requires a lot of interaction from you, from the user. Agentic AI is able to sort of take a message, take a request, and then start doing autonomously steps to come with an outcome. So maybe, for example, you are buying flight tickets and you're saying, hey, I want to fly from A to B, give me some options. And then agentic AI would be able to, for example, query different airlines to ask, like, okay, what are your tickets from A to B costing, right? And then go back, use that answer, maybe query maybe some travel agencies and come back with an answer. So it's able to do autonomously certain steps before it comes back to you. What is the advantage of this is that you don't have to interact with it all the time. You can give it a fairly complex question, and then it will break it down in certain steps, do all those steps, and then come back to you with an answer.
That sounds complex.
So what is happening on the backend is indeed pretty complex, but it's taking away complexity from you as the end user. Right? So as long as you are, and we'll talk a bit about that later, as you are able to define a good question to AI or agentic AI, it is able to do more and more by itself, which means you have less complexity to deal with.
Okay. So these AI agents, they sound like they can do all the things and we don't have to worry about anything anymore. So Roland, tell us, is it a silver bullet, if you will?
I don't think, well, even if it would be a silver bullet, I mean, as far as I know, silver bullets only help you to fight werewolves.
That's true.
Help
and
you
vampires.
And vampires. It doesn't help you to improve your code quality. And it certainly isn't. I think the most important aspect is, yes, the LLM will help you. It will give you good advice, and the thing is there, it will always try to help you, even if you don't need help or if it's not in the best direction at that moment. So most importantly, the developer needs to be in control. And I think that's a very important aspect, and we really paid attention to it, and we'll get to it later on how we solved it. But in the end, the developer is still in control. I mean, the LLM comes up with suggestions. In many cases, and especially over time, you will just accept those. But if not, somebody needs to review it. And everybody's talking about AI like this will replace all of our developers in the next coming months. No, it will not. We still need good developers who are in control. And that's what we're trying to achieve here.
Yep, we talk a lot about keeping the human in the loop just to make sure things are still going okay. It's the outcome that you wanted. So is that what you're referring to?
Indeed. Yeah. Machines are not taking over yet.
Not yet, not yet. But we all are beginning to use these more and more. So, Tibor, what are you seeing at the enterprises you work with? How are they using AI agents right now?
Yes. So let me start with what we see with the agents themselves is that they are rapidly becoming better and actually quite good at developing, especially if you talk about source code, right? So they are already able not just generate a new function, but maybe generate a new set of files, maybe even a new architectural component, right? And present and also test that themselves and then submit this as a PR to the code base, for example. So they can also do a lot of work, let's say, around developing. So they're becoming more agentic, which is an advantage. On the other hand, what we do see is that it is seen as sometimes by management, for example, as a silver bullet, like, hey, this AI is amazing. Let's deploy it and we can be twice as fast, right? And then it doesn't happen, right? And then the question is, why doesn't this happen? Well, there are a couple of reasons for that. So AI agents are not there yet, right? They still make mistakes. They still, also important, create technical debt, right? Which can be very costly to undo. But I think there's another factor in here, and that this is the sort of a acceleration factor in the sense that if you give a very experienced toolman a very good tool, right? He or she will be able to use it very well. But let's say you gave a very good tool to someone that is inexperienced, the leverage will not be as big. And we see the same with AI agents. Senior developers who know how the code base works, know how it's structured, they're able to use AI very well. But if you're a junior developer and you don't really know what you have to do or how the code base works, the effect is not as big and sometimes even negative. So what we say is that along with deployment of AI agents, make sure that you also properly train your developers on the proper usage of it. And that you also take along, let's say, the junior and medium developers.
Those are the humans for the loop.
Yes, the humans for the loop, and also that the humans know how to most effectively use that tooling. And that is one. Two is don't deploy it, let's say, all at once along your company. Start small, start with some smaller teams, maybe a little bit more experienced teams, and then grow from there and start slowly deploying AI into your organization.
Nice. And now, Roland, you have so much experience with OpenEdge developers and you talk to folks all the time. What do you think is going to happen with OpenEdge developers specifically around the use of AI agents? How is this impacting their work?
The issue is that there are a lot of LLMs out there, and unfortunately, most of them, they don't talk ABL. We all talk ABL, but they don't. I think there's just something missing on their side. So that's why we said, well, we need to come up with a good solution. We need to help our developers be more productive and to make good use of it. So we have not trained an LLM. We have created a solution in which you can easily add rules to an existing AI solution, an AI coding assistant, and then suddenly it understands ABL. So we supply all the ABL syntax, we supply the rules, so that your AI coding assistant of choice supports you much better in ABL coding. It will, I don't want to say never, but 100% is the goal. That may be hard to achieve, but it should do at least more than 90% of your code. It should be generated and it should be compilable. So that's what we've been working on. And that's how we want to support our developers. So we are supplying our developers that they can use AI coding assistants that understand ABL. But the thing is that if your coding assistant is generating ABL, in the beginning, you watch every line of code that's being generated. You want to review it, you want to check it. But over time, you get more and more relaxed. Okay, the AI is generating code for me. That's fine. It works. It compiles. I'm fine with it. but that's maybe you're missing out there, because then maybe your code quality is not improving. Because what an AI does, it generates code based on rules, but also on your existing code base. And of course, that's necessary because it needs to be in context with your current code base. You don't want to generate code that's completely different for what you've done for so many years. But is your code base all perfect code? Is it the kind of code that you would have an AI learn from it? Maybe some parts, maybe not all of it. So you want to be in control, and you want to have the opportunity to have that generated code validated. And that's why we partnered with SIG, because they have that solution to validate your code quality. We have the tooling to support you in developing ABL code, a combination that's, I think, a perfect solution.
So it kind of sounds like you're saying that these tools can help OpenEdge developers. They're very sophisticated assistants, but you would not let them do all the work for you. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, that's a very good summary. Yeah, you as we said before, you need to be in control. The human needs to be in control.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what's most fascinating to me, at least, is that all these things we're talking about, this is a constantly changing environment right now. So new things are happening every day that we're learning and building off of.
Indeed.
Nice. Well, that is great. Any final thoughts you want to talk about with AI agents? Because I did want to get into some practical use cases around all of this.
Yeah. Maybe Tibor, you can take this one.
No, I think this was a good summary we had so far.
Nice.
So let's dive in some use cases.
Yeah, take us away.
So indeed, as was mentioned before, okay, so there are LMs, agentic LMs, who can generate code, really help any developer be more productive, right? But the question is, you're sort of asking the AI to do some of the work for you, generate the code. And what we say is, whether or not it's written by an AI or by a human, you should be able to test, check, and validate the code that has been written. So whatever in the end ends up in your code base, you can be sure that it's, for example, what we talked about, maintainable, but also secure, right? Sometimes AI, it generates very good code that is functionally working, but for example, has a security issue, right? And you don't want that. And also, I think it's important to have an independent check next to that AI that can also say, okay, we think this is safe and secure code. So how do you do this? So with our platform QSM, we've come up with a solution, is that we're now busy adding what's called an MCP server. It's a technical term, but what it basically means is that any AI that is working on code any agentic AI, I must say, can ask QSM, like, hey, I've built this new code, I've generated this code that, I think solves the problem, but is it actually secure code? Is it actually maintainable code? And then QSM will analyze this and report back to the AI, like, it's looking good, but I see some long functions or some complexity in here. And then the AI itself can interpret this and resolve those issues, right? And I think this can give you best of both worlds. You have the generation of code with an AI, but you can also be sure that, let's say, the code quality is checked during development as the AI is building it. And then once you're ready to deploy and it's sort of added to the code base and it ends up in QSM, you get that overall benchmark to make sure that the AI is not creating the technical debt of tomorrow, but actually adding high quality code, right? Which is also, yeah.
Yep. That's great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe just to add a little picture to it. One picture says more than 1,000 words. Yeah, that's right. Pictures are nice. Yeah. So just as Tibor just explained, so what we already achieved is that from a developer perspective, and starting from there, the developer is developing, is creating new code, is changing code, but asks the AI to help him or her out. So it's all about prompting. can you create a test case for me? Can you change this method? Can you add some new logic in there? Can you find the issue because I have a bug somewhere in the system? Based on that, your coding assistant will generate code and will change existing code. And that's exactly where the MCP server comes in. So maybe that sounds a little bit technical, but it's just a way to communicate with QSM. The AI, the coding assistant, is instructed to call out to the MCP server, and that will ask QSM, okay, here's that part of the code that I've just changed or just generated. Tell me the quality, tell me the security issues. Return me the results, and I will work on it, and I will make the improvements as needed based on that feedback. We will also limit it because you don't want to get in an endless loop that it will, as people already explained it, try to do the golden plating, try over and over again. Now there's a maximum of 3 times and maybe even less because good is good enough. Once we say, well, okay, now we have good quality code, 3-4 stars, then it's fine. And then we will stop that loop. But in the end, and that's the most important part, the developer is still in control. So all the changes that are being made will be reviewed by the developer, and the developer needs to accept it or reject it. So I hope this explains, on a very high level, of course, the solution that we've been working on together with the SIG.
That's great.
Anything to add on this part, Thibaut?
No, I think that was quite a clear example of how it works. And yeah, and in general, I think any kind of code generating agent that you use, configuring and adding this QSM MCP server it's quite straightforward, and I think you can see the benefits almost immediately.
Yeah. And it's really cool to really see it in action, and maybe we'll do that in the next webinar. But the nice thing is, I mean, we've been using QSM for quite some time with several customers, and everybody says, okay, now you've pointed out all the issues in my code, the places in my code where I need to make improvements. Can you also help me to make those improvements? And for some time ago, then we were not able to do that. I mean, you still had to make all those changes manually, and now we can just say, okay, well, let's go ahead. I mean, there's now AI, there's an LLM that understands APL, that can also interpret the results that we get back from QSM. Yeah, and it can really help you out. It can take over that role of fixing those kind of issues and improving your code quality.
So you're actually answering what was my next question of, is this today, or are we talking about something in the future? And it sounds like you're talking about something that is available right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is today. It will become commercially available quite soon. I mean, we're working on the last aspects there and making the agreements. Yeah, and then everybody can take advantage of it. And
with our QSM program, we do have assessments available. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, indeed, Joel. So part of that, the usage of QSM, it's not just about scanning your code base, showing those results in a nice web UI. There's also follow-up needed. I mean, if you get the results, then you still need to make the right decisions. So what is the priority? And for maintainability issues, like, okay, my code base is too large, I have too much complexity in there, that's pretty straightforward. Security issues, I think that's the same thing. I mean, if you have a security issue in your code, you need to fix it, and you need to come up with a different solution for that part of the code. On architectural level, that can be quite different. I mean, and that's where I think that you really need some guidance and some support from within Progress. If you get the results from QSM and it shows you that your functional decomposition is not right, you have too many dependencies, there is a high level of dependencies between the different modules in your application. That's really where you need to work upon, and that has a much bigger impact than just changing some lines of code. So yeah, that's indeed where we have an offering with QSM assessment, where we can focus on the big picture and not just on, or not just, like what we're doing here with the MCP integration, where we can pinpoint very specific issues in your code. this will not solve architectural issues, right? But that needs a much broader view and a much better understanding of your complete code base.
So I'll give the pitch then. This is a great opportunity to reach out to our Progress Professional Services team and talk about which aspects of this might work for your particular company.
Yeah.
So
indeed.
Good. Okay, well, let's wrap up with some final thoughts, key takeaways. What do you both want people to really walk away with and remember from this conversation today?
Sure. If I can start.
Sure.
Couple of points indeed. So A is, I mean, overall, we do see that the future will be for a large part AI driven in terms of code development. What happens and what needs to be done will still be, let's say, mainly driven by the developers themselves, but AI will take a bigger role in doing the actual menial work of generating the code, but also taking more and more insight into, okay, how is this code base structured? How can we further improve? If you want to roll out, make sure that you do it step by step and that you also train everyone who might be a little less proficient in the usage of AI, because the more people can benefit from it, the more people that know how to use it, the better it will be for your company. In terms of, starting right now, if you look at what we're building, the MCP server, it's actually open for trials at the moment. So if you are using in any shape or form an LLM for code generation, you think like, I would like maybe to check what the output is actually of that LLM, then feel free to contact us, and we'd be happy to help you out and also see how we can help you, let's say, get the most out of AI agentic agents.
From my side, in line with what Tibor just said, don't hesitate to start this kind of implementations. Most of our customers have a huge code base. They've been working on that for many, many years. It's not something that you're just going to throw away and start from scratch. You still are doing the maintenance. This is really something that can help you out, and that will make it a lot easier to maintain your application for the years to come. We don't just have the tools to show you, to give you the insights, but also the tools now to help you out and to support you in making your code base better. So there's nothing holding you back. So that would be my advice. Just start going, don't hesitate, don't be afraid of it. It will really help you.
That's great. Thank you both so much for all of this information, for your insights. You're really on the cutting edge of something that's new today. So it's great to learn about. And yeah, that's all we've got. Thank you guys so much, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you for having me as well.
Of course.
Great joining.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.